Welcome to this video from the UCD School of Medicine on incorporating accessibility when designing a PowerPoint presentation using PowerPoint for Windows. In this video, we will explore the functionality available through the Check Accessibility feature. In PowerPoint for Windows, this feature is available under the Review tab. You can think of this feature as analogous to the spell check functionality, but for accessibility issues. It can be kept open continuously while you work on building a presentation, or you can use it to review your slides after you have finished. When you click on the Check Accessibility button in the ribbon, it will open a panel on the right-hand side of your screen. This panel will list the various accessibility issues the checker has found in your presentation. Clicking on the drop-down arrows beside the errors listed will bring up a list of remedial actions you can take to resolve these issues. We will now look at a series of examples explaining how to address common accessibility issues with the aid of the Check Accessibility feature. These examples address missing slide titles, contrast issues with font and background color, adding alternative or alt-text descriptions to images, and ordering graphic and text-based elements on your slides. Finally, we will look at how to export a tagged PDF file which will ensure the adjustments you have made to your PowerPoint presentation are included in the resulting PDF file. When adding a new slide to your PowerPoint presentation, it is best practice to include a title on every slide. In this example, I have created 3 slides. The first slide has a title, the second does not, as it is a continuation of the first slide, and the third slide features a large image leaving no room for a title. In order to meet the accessibility needs of all members of our university, we should be adding a title to every slide irrespective of content. By using the Check Accessibility feature here, we can easily address these issues. So to navigate to the Check Accessibility feature, we simply click on Review and then Check Accessibility. That brings up this dialog here, which shows us that we have 2 errors, both are missing slide titles. So we can click to expand, and we see we're missing slide titles on slide 2 and slide 3. So first of all, for slide 2, if we click, we see here it brings us to the slide. We can click this drop-down arrow to see the recommended actions. So we have an option to set as slide title, which would be to set slide 2 as slide title. Add slide title, which will allow us to manually type in the slide title, and add hidden slide title, which will allow us to add a slide title that is not visible to users on the screen, but is visible to assistive technologies. So first, for this one, we're just going to add a slide title. Now, if we go to slide 3, we can see that because of the size of this picture, we do not have the screen real estate to put in another title. So in this instance, it probably makes sense to add a hidden slide title. So this illustrates 2 ways of adding a slide title with the aid of the Check Accessibility feature after you have created your slide. It is important to be mindful of your choices for background color and font colors when creating your presentation. Text with insufficient contrast to its background can cause issues for users with visual impairments. Running the Check Accessibility feature on your presentation can help identify most instances of contrast issues. So to access the Check Accessibility feature, you simply click Review and then Check Accessibility. So we see here in the Accessibility panel, we have a warning, hard to read text contrast. While the Check Accessibility feature will bring you to the color palette and allow you to change both the font and fill colors, it will not make specific recommendations for what color to change it to. So you may need to experiment until you find an option that makes the warning disappear from the Accessibility panel. Generally, you should be aiming for a light text color on a dark background or a dark text color on a light background. As you can see, the warning has now disappeared. Font size also has an impact on contrast, so be aware that decreasing the size of the text on your slides can also introduce warnings. In general, it is a good idea to avoid excessively small text on your slides. Move the information onto a new slide if needs be. When adding an image to your presentation, it is important to make sure you add an alt-text description to facilitate learners who make use of screen reading software or those who may have a visual impairment. The simplest way to add an alt-text description is to right-click on the image after you have inserted it into your presentation. Then select Edit Alt Text from the menu. You will notice that PowerPoint automatically adds an alt-text description to any image you add to your presentation, but more often than not this will just consist of a default description. You should replace this description with your own. 1 or 2 sentences describing the image and its meaning in the context of the presentation should be enough. In the example here, the alt-text description reads, X-ray image of the left shoulder of a young male following recovery from an anterior shoulder dislocation. This image indicates the presence of a Hill-Sachs lesion at the posterior humeral head and a Bankart lesion on the glenoid labrum. These were both caused as a direct result of the aforementioned dislocation. Alternatively, the Check Accessibility feature can also be used to review and add alt-text descriptions for images in your presentations. So to access the Check Accessibility feature, we simply click on Review and then Check Accessibility. You will see a warning in the accessibility panel for any images where you have not reviewed the alternative text, and an error for any images without alternative text. These can be corrected by clicking the drop-down arrows beside the issues in the accessibility panel and selecting the appropriate option for your requirements. So in this first example here, we can click the drop-down arrow beside this error and add a description to this image. For the X-ray image, we will just copy in the description we used before. The Check Accessibility feature also allows you to check the reading order of elements on each slide. PowerPoint will give you a warning about the reading order if it thinks the elements may be out of order on a given slide. For example, when you add a title after filling out the main content area. It is possible that the warning may be a result of an intentional arrangement, but it is always worth investigating as the reading order controls the order in which the elements are read from a slide by a screen reader. An example of this warning, as discussed, occurs when a slide title is added back to a slide after the main content area has been filled out. So if here we go to Review and Check Accessibility, we'll see we have our missing slide title warning. So we can click on the drop down beside this, click on Add Slide Title, and now you will see this new warning has appeared, Check Reading Order. So if we click here and then click on the drop down and click on Verify Object Order, it will take us to the reading order pane. And if we look at the elements listed in this pane, we see we have the content area here and the title here, and we can see that the content area is at number 1, implying that it comes before the title. So a screen reader encountering these elements will read the content area before it reads the title. So it's important to rearrange this so as that the title comes before the content, as one would expect. The reading order pane can also help give us a clear overview of how the disparate visual elements on a given slide are currently arranged. We can use this tool to help us reflect on what the optimal arrangement and grouping of these elements is from an accessibility perspective. So again, to access our Check Accessibility feature, we simply click on Review and Check Accessibility. We will see here that we have a warning on slide 1. Click the drop down and simply click on Verify Object Order. In this example, all of our graphics on the left have their own separate alt text descriptions generated and are slightly out of order. So if we look here in our reading order pane, we can see that our title is here, and then our content placeholder, which will hold our text, is number 2. This graphic, which is our pedestrian, that's at number 3 in the order. The bus is at number 4 in the order. The train is at number 5 in the order, and the cyclist is at number 7 in the order. Rather than simply rearrange the graphics and verify that their all text descriptions are correct, we should use this opportunity to reflect upon what is the clearest way to communicate the message we are trying to convey with these images. While we have 4 separate graphics here, they form a meaningful unit of information, that unit being low carbon modes of transportation. Accordingly, it probably makes the most sense for them to have a single descriptive sentence as opposed to 4 separate ones, as we see here in the reading order pane. You see here graphic 9 is walk with solid fill, graphic 11, which is the bus with solid fill. These will all have been automatically generated by PowerPoint when I place them into the presentation. So the most logical thing to do here is to perhaps create a group from these 4 elements. To do this, we simply control-click on each of the elements and then right-click again on the elements, and we go down to this option here, group. We click group, and they are now formed into one cohesive whole. And we can then up here click on the element and add an alt text description. We can now drag this to its correct place in the reading order also. Additionally, our remaining image on the right hand side in this context really isn't conveying any meaningful information. I have just added it as a thematic decorative graphic. As such, we can probably mark this element as decorative and not worry about providing an alt text description. To do this, we can do one of 2 things. Simply right click on the image, edit alt text, and click on the mark as decorative checkbox here. So what that means is that it is now not included in the reading order. It will be ignored by a screen reader. Alternatively, this image can be marked as decorative or non-decorative directly in the reading order pane by clicking on this checkbox. If you wish to export your document as a .pdf, you will need to ensure that you are saving a tagged version so that the accessibility information you have included is encoded in the resulting PDF file. So to create a tagged version, you can simply go to File, Save As, click the drop down here, select .pdf, and then before you click Save, click on More Options. And again, in this pop-up dialog, click on the Options button here. And you just want to make sure that this document structure tags for accessibility box is checked. So you want to keep that box checked. Press OK. Click Save. And that's it. It's done. While by no means an exhaustive list, this video has covered some of the more common accessibility issues the Check Accessibility feature can help you identify. Inclusion and accessibility should not be thought of as add-ons to traditional approaches to curriculum design or the design of learning materials used therein. Instead, our goal should be to renew our approach to how we educate, keeping in mind the diverse nature of our student body as we design the materials necessary to help them learn. It's my hope that this video will have helped you to understand some of the tools that are there to help you in this regard, and how these can be relatively easily factored into your existing design workflow. Should you have any further questions or queries, please feel free to reach out to the Educational Technology team here in the UCD School of Medicine at tel.smms@ucd.ie for further information.